Based from what we've seen over the last few decades, Rolex obviously can have some wild price swings. But have you ever wondered what's behind that? This is Opulent Oasis, and today we're diving into Rolex watch prices. In a shocking turn of events, Rolex prices dropped sharply, falling by as much as 30% from their peak in 2022. Some models, though, have seen their values rise, with auction houses setting new records. So with Rolex prices on the downturn, what does this mean for the brand's future? Let's break down the factors behind this price drop and what it might signal for Rolex down the road. Recently, the secondary market for used Rolex watches has been seeing prices slide, while entry-level models and brands like Cartier and Omega are holding their ground better. Despite the wild price surges in 2021 and early 2022, things have cooled off. Remember when Rolex watches were practically flying off the shelves? Yeah, those days are gone. The decline in Rolex prices started in April 2022, partly because of higher interest rates and the crypto crash. Now, during the pandemic, pre-owned Rolexes and other luxury watches hit record highs, but now it's a different story. It's like the market is playing hard to get, and we're left wondering what's next. With prices dropping, the secondary market is seeing less hype, and models that were once super hot are now cooling off. So, what does this mean for Rolex? While some models are still holding strong, the market is clearly shifting. There's talk of oversupply, with too many watches chasing too few buyers. It's like everyone had a Rolex fever, but now it's starting to feel like a bad hangover. You see, this noticeable slide in Rolex prices isn't merely a coincidence. It's the result of several factors, including what some might call the bursting of the luxury watch market bubble. Back during the pandemic, luxury watches became the new gold rush. Apparently, investors piled up to these elegant timepieces, viewing them as a secure investment, which propelled demand and elevated prices to impressive levels by early 2022. But as the economy began to wobble and inflation fears grew, the tide turned. Investors started offloading their flashy collections, sending prices tumbling down. Remember February 2022? Rolex prices were sitting pretty at a cool $60,000 on the index. But like a party that ends with a noise complaint, the fun didn't last. By year's end, prices had nosedived to $36,000, and now they're lingering around $34,000. That's quite the roller coaster ride. This steep decline was driven by a bubble in the watch market, with Rolex finding itself at the center of these challenging dynamics. Speculative investors had been snapping up Rolex watches faster than hotcakes, betting on big returns. However, as is the case with all bubbles, once it burst, the enthusiasm shrinked, demand for Rolex professional models subsided, and prices declined more swiftly than expected. Over the last half year, the Bloomberg Sub-Dial Watch Index, which tracks luxurious brands like Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and Rolex, shows these timepieces have been clinging to price tags that are rising above their retail costs on the secondary market. But since the tail end of 2022, there's been a lot of chatter on Wall Street about the Fed possibly increasing interest rates, a move that might give the US economy and stock market a bit of a jolt. Despite this, the broader economy has demonstrated resilience and continued to progress. However, the luxury watch market has not been as fortunate, experiencing a downturn in what has proven to be a challenging environment. Take a moment. Why not join our Opulent Oasis community? Hit subscribe to stay updated. Now, let's get back to our journey. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. The Comprehensive Watch Market Index, which keeps an eye on 60 luxe timepieces from the likes of Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet, has taken a 32% nosedive since March 2022. A mix of factors plays into this scenario. For starters, there's been a ramp-up in production and supply, especially with Rolex, who's been busy opening new factories to keep up with demand. It's somewhat akin to preparing more cakes than there are celebrations. Sure, everyone loves a good Rolex, but with more watches on the market, prices have started to feel the squeeze. Additionally, the dip in luxury watch demand ties back to climbing interest rates and a tightening of belts, when it comes to spending on nice-to-haves like electronics, furniture, and fashion. It seems consumers are tightening their wallets, and this cautious approach is leaving its mark on the luxury watch market. Curiously enough, while the overall demand dips, certain top-shelf models, like those from Omega, are bucking the trend and climbing in value, even outpacing some of the fanciest Swiss models. The luxury watch market is shifting, with brands adjusting to fluctuating demand and pricing in today's changing economic landscape. As consumers lean towards rare and underrated pieces, there's a buzz around smaller-sized watches. Just like in fashion, less can often mean more, and in luxury watches, smaller is becoming the new cool. Now, despite a general downturn in demand, Rolex has been on a roll, hitting record highs in watch supply. Even during the pandemic, when many were hitting pause, Rolex barely skipped a beat, maintaining their production at the usual rate of approximately 800,000 to 1 million watches annually. Not one to rest on its laurels, Rolex is doubling down, pouring money into new factories and gearing up to boost shipments, especially to cater to the growing demand in Asian markets. It seems like Rolex is also staying sharp with the times by introducing a certified pre-owned program. Now, authorized dealers can hook you up with pre-loved Rolex watches that have been rigorously checked and spruced up by Rolex themselves. It's all about giving buyers and sellers a smoother ride. With this program, there's a tad more wiggle room in the resale market, which has chilled out prices a bit. Plus, these certified pre-owned beauties come with all the paperwork, adding extra charm to the deal. While Rolex doesn't have a direct hand in setting prices for its certified pre-owned watches, it's the individual retailers who call the shots based on market whims and other nuances. It's a bit of a free-for-all in the market for Rolex certified pre-owned watches, and this fierce competition among dealers is leading to a slide in prices as they all try to undercut each other. Despite with more players jumping into the game, the competition is only heating up, pushing prices even lower. Interestingly, some bold retailers are marking up their certified pre-owned watches by as much as 50% over standard pre-owned market rates for similar models. This aggressive pricing strategy, however, is stirring the problem, causing an overall dip in pre-owned prices and sparking a self-perpetuating cycle of decline. Though this trend might seem like a thorn in the side for sellers at first glance, it's a boon for buyers who are scoring deals left and right. Lower prices are helping to bring some balance and uniformity to the market. Think of it as the market taking a deep breath and slowly exhaling, setting the stage for recovery and normalization that benefits savvy buyers in the long haul. On top of this, the recent dip in Rolex prices might just be the market's way of finding its balance after the luxury watch bubble popped. It's like a reset to more realistic levels, rather than a full-on crash. We're seeing similar trends with other high-end brands like Omega and Vacheron Constantin, though Cartier seems to be dancing to its own tune, keeping its pricing steady amidst the fluctuations. As for what's next for Rolex, it's a bit of a question mark, especially with changing tastes among the younger crowd. Today's up-and-comers aren't as dazzled by traditional luxury watches. They are more captivated by the technological sophistication of smartwatches and other devices that offer more functionalities than just timekeeping. This shift is putting some pressure on Rolex's appeal, dialing down the demand from what it once was. Whether it's the right time to buy a Rolex really depends on what you're aiming for. If it's all about personal satisfaction and the joy of owning a Rolex, then any time is a good time. These watches tend to hold their value, so don't let market ups and downs scare you off. But if you're thinking about flipping a Rolex for a quick profit, you might want to think twice. The market can be a bit unpredictable for that kind of play. On the other hand, in tackling these market challenges, Rolex is looking ahead by ramping up both supply and demand. They're building new facilities and boosting production to keep up with the increasing appetite for their watches. Plus, they've got their eyes on the Asian market, which is shaping up to be a hotspot for luxury timepieces. Since the growing demand for luxury watches, including Rolex, is largely driven by the booming Asian market, countries like China and India, with their increasing wealth and disposable income, are fueling a keen interest in high-end timepieces. As more people in these regions look to invest in luxury watches, Rolex stands to gain significantly. By ramping up supply, the brand seeks to capitalize on this growing demand and strengthen its market position. Recently, Rolex prices took a bit of a dive, partly due to market adjustments and their new certified pre-owned program. But hey, if you're buying a Rolex for the love of it, these ups and downs don't really matter. It's still a classy move that brings long-term satisfaction, no matter the price tag. So, what do you think about the reasons behind the Rolex price changes we've discussed in this video? If you enjoyed it, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments and appreciate a thumbs up. Don't forget to follow our channel for more engaging content. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Opulent Oasis. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop with our latest releases. Catch you in the next video.